Well, good afternoon, Arkansas, and hopefully everybody has enjoyed the start to the new year so far. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the warm weather this afternoon, but things are about to take a drastic turn over the next couple of days. Before we go over anything, I want to stress this because it's 60s right now, it's in the 70s, does not mean we're not going to get snow.
Definitely.
Two past events, three really, if you take it back to the Christmas of 2012 as well. 2011, 2013, and 2012. Little Rock was in the 60s and 70s, almost 80s for high. A few days later, we had 6 to 8 inches of snow. Several occasions, we've had several inches of snow after temperatures have been very, very warm. So just because temperatures are warm, especially in the winter, does not mean we will see snow,
Right.
or we will not see snow.
Right. So, like I mentioned before, and I posted this under the accumulation map earlier, um, it's perfectly okay if you don't want to believe what we're saying. And, it's not our first time. We did this in 2016, got laughed at, then the forecast verified, and everyone joined us. So, it's nothing that we're not used to. If you're hoping that you're going to get under me and his skin, both of us were from Southern Arkansas. You're not going to get under our skin. So, just keep that in mind. Any negative comments, political, anything like that, it's just going to end with a block. So, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the accumulation map here. So I'm starting with this first, and then we're going to go over the precipitation map here. So this has been the viral post on our page. Everybody's seen this and saying, well, it's not going to happen, stuff like that. I want to explain the reason why you're seeing this right now. So Southern Arkansas, trace 2.5 inch down there. That's the better call at this point. Keep this in mind. This accumulation map is a first look. I know everybody sees the colors on the map and stuff like that. It's like a first glance and it shares and stuff. But we tell you guys to read it for a reason because it's a first look. A first look means that it's something that we're looking at preliminary and then it's going to change over and over. So we still 24, 48 hours away from this event. This could change rapidly. Like I told you guys in the comment, some of these totals may be a little bit underdone. I know Ryan Vaughn up there in Northeast Arkansas, he went 4 to 8. We're under him right now. So that's why we're saying some of these totals could be a little bit underdone in some locations. So we'll have more information as data comes in. We get a better idea on what to expect. But a general 3 to 6 for much of eastern and northeastern Arkansas, we're going to have to watch for any potential convective bands. Basically, the potential of heavy snow, maybe some thunder snow in some places across eastern Arkansas. Then you got the higher elevations across western Arkansas and northwest Arkansas, where you get higher in the elevation, you could see in totals up to 6 inches of snow over there as well. A general area, 2 to 3 inches of snow across much of northern and central Arkansas. Less totals the further south you go. However, that is still subject to change at this point. Go ahead, Derek.
So basically, the way this is set up to get snow in Arkansas, you want to track for a low pressure. You want it to either go along the southern border or just south of the state.
Right.
Now, what has been going on here is this is an unusual type of setup. Normally, with these Alberta or these Miller Clipper type of systems, you don't normally have a surface low along the Gulf Coast as well. What is setting up is right now is you have a low pressure that is going up and over a ridge of high pressure west of the Rockies. That is going to come down the eastern slope of the Rockies, and it's going to move south. Now, as it does, a trough is going to cut off, and then that is going to form a low pressure to our south.
Yep.
Now, the question is now, where does that low pressure track? If you believe the GFS for a while has had that low tracking through central Arkansas. If that happens, well, you can pretty much count on northern Arkansas getting snow, rest of us not seeing much of all. However, toss that out because now we're starting to get samples in. The rest of the afternoon guides, minus the GFS for some reason, has started to pick up on the idea of this low moving a little bit west and then south. There's also what we call a handoff. Basically, the Clipper low comes down, dissipates, hands off to the southern low, and then also as the trough creates an upper low. You need these to happen because if these don't happen, then you won't get any of this at all. And right now, confidence is high in the track of the low.
Yep.
Confidence is high in this setup occurring. The question now is, do we get banding, as we've seen several times, as the low pivots. Where the low pivots is going to be key, because that's where your banding will set up.
Right. And also, one more thing we're going to watch, and I mentioned this yesterday in the live, is that I've noticed a slowed down trend with guidance as well. We may be looking at a potential stalled out system as we get towards late Saturday night and early Sunday morning. So there's a lot of uncertainty still going on with this system. There's still a lot of things that need to be answered. That's why everything you're seeing right now is preliminary. Nothing is set in stone at this point. And I know a lot of people, get frustrated because they're like, hey, why this is not set in stone. I need to know because I got work, etc. The reason why is because you got to remember, the system is just now coming on shore. We're just now getting samples in with the system, so it takes time for data to come in and etc. And speaking of the GFS, actually, I'm going to show you guys this and guidance in a little bit. GFS lines up with the Euro. It's just not the parameters of GFS is not matching up with the European model right now. So guidance is having a hard time with everything right now. So everything you're seeing is first looks, preliminary looks, because we don't have a solid idea of what's going to happen. Like Derek said before, if that handoff does not happen or something messes up at the short range, then this can completely change on you. So that's why we're stressing you guys right now. I know everyone sees the snow map. I know everyone sees the accumulations. They want to know who's going to get what, etc. But you got to remember that these things change. It's the world of weather for a reason, especially in Arkansas. Things change on a last second notice.
But one thing I do want to mention, normally when we get to 48 hours out, we see either guidance go away from the idea or go towards the idea. It is stuck with the idea. And, that's something that we see. Another thing I am watching for, especially and what we watch for, are your surface temperatures.
Definitely.
Or where the cold air is going to come from. There's a big key here about this. Normally, when we talk about winter weather in Arkansas, you typically have your cold air getting bottled up in the Ozarks. But if you have a northeast wind, that cold air seeps around the Ozarks. So basically, you can have a situation where, say, for example, Stuttgart and Little Rock is at 31 degrees, while Russellville is at 36, rain versus snow. So there's something we're going to have to watch, because as the low moves to our south, those winds will shift out of the northeast. That's going to bring that cold air rapidly around the mountains. So the Ozarks will be getting cold air. The Washtenaws will be getting cold air. But then that cold air with the snowpack to our north already falling ahead of this will come down around the mountains. So it's something we're going to have to watch out for. And that's going to be key. How fast do those temperatures fall will be how much accumulating snow do we see, and also how heavy does it fall. So first off, let's start off with what we're going to see Saturday morning.
And this is why he's the chief forecaster, by the way. So go ahead, Derek.
All right. So basically, Friday afternoon, Friday night, our temperatures will be highly dependent upon what happens with the cold front. Cold front's going to come through first. This is going to be more of a typical, what we call a quote-unquote backdoor cold front. The low pressure's coming out of the northwest. That's going to send a cold front from northeast to southwest. Well, how cold does it get behind that front is going to determine who sees what first. Well, northern Arkansas confidence is very, very high. We're going to see an all-snow event up there because that's where your freezing line and your cloud cover is going to be there continuously, and your cold air will be deeper in all layers of the atmosphere. As you move south, it's going to take longer to transition. Now, I've seen several guys say 45, 46, for highs on Saturday. I don't buy that. I do believe 38 to 40 is a good bet. I don't think we're going to warm up, especially with northeast winds. If these northeast winds come in stronger, it blows everything.
Right, and I was just going to say that, especially for eastern Arkansas, because where you see the rain and snow right now, whenever you're dealing with northeast winds, as everyone live in eastern Arkansas, you have flat lands. So the northeast winds are allowed to travel a lot faster in those areas versus western Arkansas. So right now, I would say probably from Searcy or to West Memphis to Jonesboro right now, you're at rain and snow at the moment, but it's going to be heavily dependent on what your temperatures are going to be Saturday morning, because if you don't recover much during the day, then you can easily go from rain to snow to all snow. You can literally be dealing with an all snow event out of this, because temperatures are going to bust as we get towards the afternoon of Saturday and Saturday evening here. So we'll watch that closely. We're confident that much of central and western Arkansas will probably start off as rain, so don't be surprised first thing Saturday morning. I know a lot of people are probably going to either be on their winter storm watch or winter storm warning. Don't be surprised if you start off as rain during the day on Saturday. Then you're going to change over. It's reminiscent to the 2012 event, just minus ice and just on a lower scale to that. It kind of reminds me of that so much at this point here. So go ahead, Derek.
Now, biggest thing is this is the map during the day, Saturday. So
Yeah,
again,
during the day,
this
definitely.
is from sunrise to sunset. Now, as we go through the afternoon, those temperatures are going to plummet.
Yep.
Towards the afternoon, you're going to see a slow fall after about, I say, 10 a.m. in the morning. Now, if we get those northeast winds sooner, those temperatures are going to start falling sooner.
Yep.
The sooner these fall, the higher the totals. The later they fall, the lower the total. That's why we say don't focus on the high number on your accumulation map. Focus on both. Because, for example, West Arkansas may cool off later than, say, East Arkansas. North Arkansas obviously is going to cool off sooner than South Arkansas.
Yep.
Now, as we go into Saturday night, this is when everything is going to transition over. This is when the highest concern for rapidly deteriorating weather conditions across much of Arkansas is going to be, especially from Mena to Little Rock to Memphis north.
Yep. And a couple of things that we're going to have to watch. So first off, confident enough to put in the heavy snow criteria for much of northeastern Arkansas. And as I said before, this is going to change over the next couple of days here, because another thing, here's a couple of things to point out. The higher elevations in western Arkansas. There may be some higher elevations that you see the blue area go out in western Arkansas and southwest Arkansas. Keep in mind, as Derek said before, if your temperatures bust on Saturday and it's a lot colder than expected, that blue area can easily come south. It can easily come south. So keep that in mind, folks. That's why we tell you it is our first look. Everything is heavily dependent on what happens during the day on Saturday. But a couple things to note. With this low pressure, you're going to get a merger out of this. This thing is going to merge either right at Arkansas or just to the east. Okay? So breezy conditions. We're talking 20 to 25 mile per hour wind gusts. Some guidance is wanting to go 30 to 35. That's when you start talking possible blizzard conditions at that point if you get it sustained for more than 6 hours. I don't think it's going to get to that extent at the moment. It just depends on how strong this system gets. If it gets pretty powerful, really starts getting off across eastern half of Arkansas and Mississippi, then you could potentially be talking 30 to 40 mile per hour winds and gusts, especially across eastern Arkansas. Another thing I'm worried about is northeast winds with all that gusty winds coming in with the gradient pressure in eastern Arkansas, the flat lands. You can easily see 30 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts there as well, along with the heavy snow. And this is going to be heavy wet snow as well. This is not going to be that dry, powerless snow, maybe in western Arkansas, but this is going to be a heavy, wet snow, especially across the area. Go ahead.
And that's something else that I do want to talk about as well. So when we're starting out with this event, you're going to have a heavy, wet snow.
Yep.
That's going to accumulate on trees and power lines really, really fast. And your bridges, overpass, stuff like that, those always be the first to go down. So normally we look at a 10-to-1 ratio for snowfall accumulation, basically. So say, for instance, 10 inches of snow for every 1 inch of moisture. So really with this event, we're talking more like a 6-to-1, 7-to-1, 8-to-1, because they're going to be those really thick, huge flakes that you're used to seeing in Arkansas. As we go throughout Saturday night, those temperatures are going to be falling while snow is still falling. That ratio is going to go from 8-to-1 to 10-to-1, possibly as high as 12-to-1. So you're going to go from the really big wet flakes to the dry flakes. And basically, that could also cause issues because we're talking about roads. Because as your temperatures fall, you're going to have flash freeze. We're talking about many different scenarios here that are going to affect both travel and the potential for isolated power. I don't think we're going to see the equivalent of our 2012 system. But if anybody remembers the first event that really put AWW kind of on the map back, it was January 16th of 2016. That event, we were warm. And then as we got closer, the idea of heavy snow came out. We came out, and then the rest was history. This is almost identical setup to where it's a low track south of the state. It's going to hit the southeast ridge. We're going to be in between a ridge to our south, ridge to our north, and ridge to our west. So what that means is your gradient is going to be there. As a low deepens, like Cameron mentioned, 20 to 30 mile an hour gusts cannot be out of the realm of possibility. What concerns me with that is where the heaviest snow falls is where the greatest chances of seeing that potential power outages could be. I don't think there's going to be many, but I would not be shocked to see a few.
Definitely.
And of course, the heavy snow area is highly dependent upon banding. Where banding sets up, that 3 to 6 can go up to 10, 12, who knows? There's no indication right now of exactly where that's going to set up.
Right. And that's what I was saying before. with the totals. That's why when I mentioned earlier, Ryan Vaughn has 4 to 8 up there in Northeast Arkansas. We're 3 to 6. So that's why we're saying right now we're some of our totals may be underdone because of the fact that, like Derek said before, with banding setting up in Eastern Arkansas, where there's a low track, etc. Some places may even have the potential. I know it's kind of like the hype word, but some areas may have the potential of seeing thunder snow out of this, depending on where the heaviest banding sets up. And LZK, they talked about that as well. Those heavy convective bands setting up across Eastern Arkansas. So that's something we're going to watch. And a lot of people, by the way, someone is wanting us to make some snow angels like we did with the February event. We will do that, by the way.
and you know, Scott Bowling does have a good point.
Yep.
You know, because by tomorrow afternoon we could be talking about a whole different situation.
Exactly.
Winter weather in the South is, how do I describe this? It's basically like being a Razorback fan. You may get blessed with a 9-4 season, or you may end up having a Chad Morris type season. It really depends. It's really dependent upon the track, upon temperatures, upon lift. There's a lot of different meteorological variables that go into this. Right now, everything is so consistent. We now have sampling. The sampling has kept it consistent. So that's what I love about this setup, is that and I'm very confident that we're going to see this. And I'm very confident. The only confidence now is, do we see a quicker changeover to snow, or do we see a later changeover to snow? That's going to be the million-dollar question.
Right. So we're, instead of just doing guidance, I think this is a pretty good setup. Everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
We're just going to leave it on this, and then we're just going to do the Q&A on here. So Lynn brought up a very, very good question. I talked to Derek about this yesterday. The low setting up west of Arkansas.
Well,
you get the merger west of Arkansas. That happens.
We're going to be talking about heavy snow
big time
further southwest. We'll be talking areas like Fayetteville, Mena, Hot Springs, Arkadelphia. We'll be talking about those heavier snow totals south. Now, another thing, if this sets up further west and south, we could be cutting out northern Arkansas entirely.
That's another thing.
Because the concern is there. The further west the snow tracks, the dry air from the north tracks.
Yep.
Because basically, your heavy snow totals are going to be where the lift is and where the moisture is. Mm-hmm. Well, you have a very strong ridge of high pressure. Sunday night, lows are going to be down in the teens. So you're talking about dry air coming in, following this as it tracks around Arkansas. Yep. So the further west this goes, the more dry air comes in. I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. The 12-day Euro this afternoon did kind of throw that possibility out there.
I mean, I'm gonna double check that real quick.
To an extent, but not a lot. Less in northeast Arkansas, more in central west, and then of course east central Arkansas towards the Delta.
Okay, so basically what it does, I'm gonna double check and make sure that I have this correct. It does the merger right in southern Arkansas. It has an upper level low going through northeast Texas, going north Louisiana, has a 1,005 millibar low in Mississippi, and it does the merger right in southern Arkansas. So you basically, what you would do, the Euro would verify, by the way, you bring that heavy snow, that blue area, about a good, I would say, 150 miles to the south and west at this point, if the Euro were to verify. Because of the fact, like Derek said before, you got dry air coming in on the north side of Arkansas. So it would cut out the far northern counties of Arkansas, but you would bring the heavy snow potential down into the metro, down into parts of central and southern Arkansas and eastern Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So the Euro, like I said before, Euro's been Arkansas's best friend.
Yep.
I mean, it's been, and it still is. It's been very consistent with the model and with the trends. It's been very consistent with the precipitation type and everything. So
don't focus on the accumulation on the Euro. That's good. That changes every 4 hours.
Yeah.
Or every 6 hours.
Yeah.
Don't focus on that.
Yeah. The accumulation right now is going to be day one. Yeah, definitely.
Your setup is there on the NAM GFS, Euro, CMC. All of them have the setup. Now we're just waiting to see temperatures. Now, I'm seeing a lot of questions about right now. It's 70. It is currently 70 here in the metro at the Weather Center. Yep. I've seen a lot of questions about this so far. A lot of people are asking, how can we expect snow to stick with it being 70 before? Again, I mentioned this at the start of the broadcast. We can go back to 2016. We can go back to 2012. We can go back to 2013 and 2011.
Yep.
Those 4 setups all had temperatures in the 60s and 70s 2 days before the event.
Becky answered that. That was a great answer, by the way. She just basically answered that question because your ground temperatures are too cold right now. You would have to have 70 degrees for an entire week, not just one day. You have to have it for an entire week before we start talking about ground temperatures being too warm. With the last event, you guys saw it up there in Northeast Arkansas. You went from ground temperatures being in the 60s down into the upper 30s and low 40s. Ground temperatures are a lot easier to break than a lot of people realize. It's not something that's hard to break. You can get ground temperatures to break very, very easily. It's a very simple process, especially if you get under one of those heavy snow bands, because they can erode the warm air in the ground, and they can really accumulate. So I think right now the best shot is going to be the elevated areas for the most accumulations. However, ground temperatures are not as warm as everybody's assuming it's going to be. Just because it's 70 right now,
I mean,
doesn't mean it's not going to stick.
We can take this back to the New Year's event.
Definitely, right.
We had chances of severe weather, and then a day later you had snow on the ground.
Yep.
I mean, you had wrecks in eastern Arkansas. Air temperature has nothing to do with what the setup's going to be. As long as you have cold air in place, that is all you need. And that's why we're saying it's going to be a heavy, wet snow. You can, with the aloft temperatures coming in, you can have snow at 35, 34, and 35. If it's heavy enough, it's going to stick. It wants to stick on the roads, which is great for everybody involved. But it'll be sticking on the grass, sticking on the trees, stuff like that. Now, I've seen a lot of questions about
what's the difference between this event and last year's event. Last year's event was just a overall dream scenario for Arkansas. I mean, you had a deep cold air mass in place. You had a very, very active storm jet coming through. It was last year's system is probably twice as strong as this one is. This one is just a much lower scale. The reason why we're telling you guys right now, some areas may see some isolated higher amounts is because where the banding is going to set up. This is not going to be anything comparison to what we had last year. Last year, like I said before, it was a dream scenario for Arkansas, getting multiple rounds of heavy snow across the board. I don't think that this is going to be that situation.
Now, for our folks in southern Arkansas, I want to stress something. Do not be shocked to get a period of sleet. Because the problem is you're going to be having a battle between the Gulf warm air to our south and the cold air coming in from the north. I've seen this stuff time and time again where you get snow from basically Highway 270 north, Highway 270 south, you get basically a rain to sleet mix. And now if we start talking sleet with temperatures falling into the 20s, we're going to have a whole other problem on our hands. I don't think you're going to see, but a very brief period, because you're going to be talking those temperatures falling fast. A lot of temperatures are going to be falling fast.
Right. So So Lisa brought up a good point. I talked about this in the live stream yesterday. So, the potential of this thing stalling now. I see that comment. I see it. It's just great. The potential of this thing stalling out east of Arkansas. Right now, that thinking, as I said before, I told you guys yesterday not to bank on that thinking. It was just something that we were going to watch for. Right now, it just depends because there's a lot of ridging to our east, and it just depends on how fast the system gets out here. Right now, guidance is getting this out of here by first thing Sunday morning, but things change. Between now and 72 hours out, we could potentially be talking about this thing staying until midday Sunday or something like that. So that's something we're going to watch. I think right now, best bet is this thing's going to get out here first thing Sunday morning. So it's not a fast system, but it's what we call a semi-progressive system. It's
another thing.
Right. Go ahead.
Your heavy snow's going to be falling at night. You're not going to have the sun to prevent accumulations. That's why this is a higher confidence in higher accumulations, because you're going to have falling temperatures. You're going to have little, if any, sunlight when the heaviest of this occurs. So everything is setting up for that potential. Now, again, we're not expecting a February type of event.
No.
But I want to stress this too. We mentioned this in our winter outlook back in November, that mid to late January, early February was when would be our peak snowfall chances. So far, it's spot on. And now, I want to say that after this event, we're going to warm up again. Beyond this event, don't be shocked if we're doing this again in about 10 days. Just throwing that out there. Very early indications, but we're just going to, right now, our main focus is this event. And again, unlike in February, we got snow and we stayed cold. We're going to get snow. We could be talking about 60s and 70s again by this time next week.
Great question by Dustin. Dustin, okay, I'm just going to do a shout out to Dustin. He makes the great questions. He does the he comes out with some really, really good questions here. So I was actually talking to you about this morning, about the rainfall affecting the roadways and how they're going to treat the roads. That is something that RDOT is trying to figure out right now, because that problem is you get rainfall, you start pre-treating the roads. First of all, you have to figure out if there's going to be a break in the action. I mean, right now it's a wait and see. With this, some guidance has a break before the snow. Some say you go straight from rain to snow. So it's a wait and see.
This setup is going to be a rain to snow event.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have a break in between. North Arkansas, you can probably pre-treat the roads better because it's going to be all snow.
Yeah.
The problem is with the parts with like the River Valley over toward East Central Arkansas, and then of course down into Central and West Central Arkansas, we're going to be talking about a rain to snow event. So that's going to make it harder to pre-treat the roads.
Yep.
Because the salt ground will tend to wash away. Now, when those temperatures drop below 30, you're going to have a ice rink out there to go along with the snow. So that's our concern. That's we talk about flash freeze. When it starts snowing, they're going to be out there pre-treating the roads. The question's going to be
I'm worried about that too.
How soon does the snow fall? If you look at some guides, it starts as early as Saturday morning.
Yep.
If you look at others, it's Saturday night. So we're getting into range now. We're going to be start looking more at the high resolution models. We're also going to be watching real time data. Yep. And the track of the low as it moves through Iowa and Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas. That's going to be our indication as to what's going to happen here. We're also going to be watching west of El Paso to see if that low is forming. Once that low starts forming to our south, that's when we're going to talk. Another thing, we're not going to be having severe weather to our south. In typical Arkansas winter weather events, you have severe weather to the south that limits moisture coming north. You're not going to have that either. Everything is setting up for one of those classic Arkansas winter storm events. Definitely. The biggest question is we could see more snow in the northeast than in the northwest.
Yep, and it's like, and you can see between the both of us the amount of uncertainty in this forecast. So it's perfectly okay. I know there's people on there that are saying they don't believe it. We'll believe it when we see it, stuff like that. Typical Arkansas fashion. It's fine. You don't have to believe it. I mean, me and him, when we did this in 2016, we had the same issue. No one believed it, got laughed at, bashed, etc. Then it happened, and then 30,000 lights later, we were there. So you don't have to believe us. No, we're not going to sit here and force you to make you believe us, but we want you guys to be aware of the potential. Okay, the potential is there. As you can see at the top of the Arkansas map, the potential for a significant winter storm is there at this point. As I said before, there's a lot of details that needs to be going over. We will be here for a few more minutes. If you guys got any questions.
Okay, so we have right now.
Also, do me a favor. If anyone that needs questions answered for the winter weather, send them our way to the live stream as well.
So we have a lot of questions about the Euro. If it's onto something about the southern track and less snow north. Now, the Euro has been spot on.
Do I need to show the Euro real quick? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, let's go on and let's go and look at this. Okay, so the Euro has so don't focus on the accumulation. Because the Euro right now basically you're talking the difference in a lower ratio versus higher ratios. So the Euro has stayed with the southern track throughout this entire event.
Yep.
Guides has trended towards that event. Now, with that being said, that would take your deformation banding further south. Will Northeast Arkansas get out of the heavy snow? Absolutely not. I do think models are underdoing moisture, and they're overdoing temperatures. So basically what that means is that you're going to have a period of heavy wet snow. The question is going to be now is where that sets up. The heaviest banding, I think, could set up just south of Jonesboro. I do believe from Jonesboro to Little Rock to Stuttgart to Memphis, we'll see the heaviest bands. I fully believe that. I have believed that since I've been studying this. Now, for a max amount of snow in Arkansas, you want this track where it's at to go just along and just south of the state.
Yep.
However, if it goes too far south, that cuts out northern Arkansas. It goes too far north, it cuts out southern Arkansas and possibly much of central.
You need a perfect track with this. And we tell you guys all the time with winter weather here in Arkansas, you need a perfect track to get winter weather. here in Arkansas for the entire state, not just for one area or another area. In order to get it for the entire state, you need an almost perfect track with this low. And that's what almost zero does. But you can see what I'm talking about here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to what's called PWAT, or basically in layman's terms, the amount of moisture that's available here. And this is the moisture values. And first of all, this is concerning. You got almost an inch of PWAT across eastern Arkansas. So you can see the amount of moisture that we'll be dealing with. But you can see the further north you go, it starts getting less and less and less and less. Let's say you take this system and you dive it about 100 to 200 miles south. All that dry air in Missouri comes south. That's why Derek is saying if this thing goes too far south, it's going to cut out northern Arkansas and it'll be just a central and south Arkansas event.
But now, the same thing with your lower QPF totals.
Yep.
You're also going to have higher ratios because of your temperatures. Because the drier the air, the colder the air.
Yep.
So, with that being said, say for instance, you have basically about a half an inch of QPF, but you have a 10-to-1 ratio. Well, that's still 5 inches of snow. But if you talk 12-to-1, you're talking 7, 8 inches of snow. 14-to-1, and you get the picture. The higher the ratio, the more the snow. The lower the ratio, the less the snow. So with that, like for example, central, eastern, south Arkansas. So you're talking roughly half an inch to an inch of QPF with a snow ratio of 8-to-1. That would roughly equate to about what we have, 2 to 6 inches of snow. That's where the accumulation map comes in. We have taken the lower ratios into account with the higher QPF.
Yep.
Then, of course, obviously, any rainfall we get, that could change a lot of things. So again, I buy the Euro track because I buy the Euro track just because of where everything is set up. I also buy the banding being a little bit further south of northern Arkansas. Now, northern Arkansas, your higher totals could come early in the day.
Yep.
As this goes south, it's going to transition to central and southern Arkansas.
Yep. And another thing,
and eastern Arkansas.
Right. And another thing I'm worried about is you see your 1030 millibar high up here in Kansas, right? You see the upper level low that's down here. Notice something, and this is a little shout out to Weatherbell. I like Weatherbell's graphics for a bit, but you can see how closely stacked the lines are. The lines start getting closer and closer and closer together. That means a lot of barometric pressure. There's a lot of gradient in the environment. So basically, what happens is you get winds, and that's another thing I think a lot of people are not seeing right now is that there's a wind potential with this as well. You can talk 20, 25 mile per hour wind gusts, and you're thinking, oh, that's nothing, right? Heavy snow on power lines. 20, 25 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe as high as 30 coming out of the northeast. That's where you can start seeing problems in terms of power outages or travel issues, etc. So that's something that we're going to watch very closely. At this point, I'm going to talk to you guys about the wind real quick.
Now,
Mark, what I'm talking about.
Mark is
and there's
saying,
Euro. There's Euro.
So Mark is saying that the Ozarks and Boston Mountains really mess up a lot of these events.
He ain't.
You were right.
You're preaching. You're preaching
Mark,
on that one.
However, I want to stress this. We're going to have a northeast wind with this event.
Yep.
The lows going south of us bring northeast winds. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, that's going to bring the air around the Ozarks. What does that mean? Well, that means areas like northeast Arkansas. Obviously, the Ozarks are going to get snow first. But as this moves south, you're talking about. This is why we think models are overdoing temperatures. Northeast winds are going to bring that cold air around the Ozarks into the Washita's and then up the valleys.
Yep.
So instead of it coming from northwest, it's coming from the northeast.
Yep.
That means we're going to get colder sooner across the east and less across the west.
Yep. So basically, I'm drawing out your mountains over here, and you can see where your northeast wind is coming in at this point. So you're seeing it. You can see it perfectly with the European model has the higher wind profiles here, where you got winds 35 to 40 miles per hour. You go Euro, you're borderline. You're getting close to that criteria, but that's where you see those winds 30, 35 miles per hour, as high as 40 miles per hour in this area here, because you've got winds coming in from the northeast, and these are flat lands out here in eastern Arkansas, so it's able to travel a lot faster across this area here. And then you notice out here towards the west, where your winds are a lot calmer, 15 to 20 mile per hour in some places. Even in the River Valley region, you don't have much of wind going on at all because the mountains are blocking the wind. So you will cool down, but it's going to take a little bit of time. That's why we're saying right now, Western Arkansas, that precipitation map may need to be retweaked a little bit over the next 12 to 24 hours. So it's something we're going to watch closely. And guys, if you know anybody that needs their questions answered with winter weather, send them our way right now. This is why we're live. We're trying to answer as many questions as physically possible here. So,
and Mark, this is it. And this is actually very common with Arkansas winter storm events. You have to have a northeast wind to get the moisture or to get the cold air around the Ozarks. This is very, very common and what we want to see. So far, everything is lining up for that typical central and north Arkansas, especially east Arkansas type of snowstorm. Now, the biggest question is going to be temperatures.
Yep.
And I want to stress this. Guidance has been, in my opinion, when we get to Saturday, overdoing temperature.
And yeah, I'm new, and especially when I tell you guys this all the time with winter weather. Never trust model guidance for temperatures. Never trust model guidance for temperatures. No reason is your dew points. Now, the Euro is kind of like right there with your dew points and your temperatures, so it's 33 to 35 degrees here. But my problem is this.
Heavy, wet snow.
My problem is this. Your dew points crash during the overnight hours.
With snow still falling.
With snow still falling.
If you notice, look down in Alabama and Mississippi.
Yep.
You see that curving of your moisture. That moisture is being thrown up into what we call the dendritic growth zone, which is where your snow falls. As you're going overnight, your snow is falling. This is why we say those ratios will start low, but end higher because your moisture is going to be coming down.
I guess we're going to have to make another graphic. Someone was asking if we're making a bread and milk graphic. That's funny.
So basically what we're saying is that it's going to snow, folks. This is a given. It's going to snow. We have no doubt in our mind it's going to snow. Right now, we're pinpointing who sees how much, where the heaviest it's going to be, and then who sees very little.
Definitely.
With this track, it favors much of Arkansas minus the lower two roads of counties. The lower two roads of counties will get on it last. Not much of anything there. Now, I've seen this again, and Cameron keeps pointing this out to me, to where these things go so far south, it cuts off North Arkansas entirely. Barely anything is central, and then it all goes south. I don't think we're going to see that. It's going to be a mix of the two.
No,
but
that I don't buy that too far south.
This is going to be a threading the needle between the three ridges.
Yep.
Where this low tracks is going to be key. The southeast ridge is set up perfectly. Your ridge in the Ohio Valley is set up perfectly. You're going to see a big U shape across the country from the plains down to Arkansas, and then up the East Coast.
Yep, and you can see what we're talking about here. So you have ridging across the western half of the country here, and then your track, basically where your upper level low is going to go is where your tracking is right now. So you have basically like this, okay? So ridging here, ridging across the northeast up here in the Ohio Valley, and you have your southeast ridge. Now your southeast ridge is flattened, but it's still there, okay? So your upper level low is basically going to track wherever the weakness in these ridges are. So that's why you have winter storm watches out right now across Iowa in this area.
The low across Missouri, across Mississippi, you can see the low with the curving of your moisture.
Yep.
And that track is key. With it being there, that is a classic Arkansas winter storm setup. That is a very, very, very classic winter storm setup. And again, guys are still going to be back and forth on this over the next 24 hours. But the track is there, setup is there. We've seen a notable southern shift, but again, it's all going to be dependent upon the track. Keep this in mind. Track is key. Track is key to this event. Temperatures are going to be marginal to start.
Yep.
Where the track goes is who's going to see more snow, who's going to see less snow.
Yep, and you can see with the 500 millibar pattern too. You're ridging here, and then your trough kind of digging down. And this thing is powerful. This is a powerful, abnormally powerful upper level low down here that has, in some cases, a 528 millibar line with it. And basically what that means, it has a lot of cold air here. And I can show you what the aloft temperatures real quickly here on here. So Your 925. There's a lot of cold air coming with this, and you can see what we're talking about here. So there's 925, and there you can see this with the map, that curve right through here. Okay, it's perfect with the Euro. You can see that. You can see the cold air coming down. So you got northeast winds coming down into the area. You got southerly winds coming in with this, and this is also why, if you're in the southeast, why you have an ice threat right through here.
Yep, because you have the warm air coming up.
It's a cold air damming effect.
Yep.
Up there in North Georgia, up towards North South Carolina, and over towards Tennessee. So that's why you have an icing threat over here and a snow threat over in our area towards west.
Now, I will say this. I don't think you're going to see lower totals with this. If anything, I'm going out on a total limb. This is just a gut feeling. We may have to increase those. The only thing that concerns me is the temperature Saturday.
Yep.
If your temperatures only get to the upper 30s Saturday, we're going to be talking about a whole different scenario come Saturday morning.
Yep.
So we're going to have forecast updates on this in the morning. We're going to have forecast updates tomorrow. Well, he will. I will not be around tomorrow. But, you know, and then, of course, Saturday I'll be back. And then we'll be talking about Saturday. We'll be having a real live look at what's going on.
Definitely.
Our final forecast for this event will likely be on Saturday morning, ahead of the event, right before it starts. But we're going to have updates throughout the night and all day Friday on this event coming up. Again, South Arkansas, you will see snow. It won't be much. I would not be shocked to see more of a rain and sleet mix versus snow. So basically, from
I'm gonna bring this to your attention real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off, but my concern is this. I pulled this up with the NAM. NAM is doing a wonderful job with this. My concern, and get it through a little shout because Richie brought this up yesterday about temperatures falling throughout the day. What happens with the surface low? Surface low comes through first, so you're going to see probably a round of rain or whatever. But what problem is this? How low does your temperatures get Friday night and early Saturday morning? Will make the difference in the world. Also, pre-event with this, you have easterly to northeasterly winds coming into Arkansas Friday night if you go with the NAM. So basically, the reason why we're northeast winds in Arkansas for winter weather events are your best friend in the world. It's your best friend.
Yep.
You want northeast winds. You want northerly northeast winds because it brings down not dry air, but it brings down that cool, moist air into Arkansas. It doesn't bring the significant dry air where it does with the northwest. So northeast winds are your best friend here in Arkansas. That's how every winter storm, every winter event has gone here in Arkansas is with northeast winds across the area. But our problem is this. Your surface lows here in northeast Texas. You got northeast winds coming in, easterly northeast winds coming in Saturday morning. If that trend continues with cloud cover in place, those temperatures are going to bust on Saturday, and we're going to probably be dealing with a whole different ball game.
I also remember the 2016 setup. Little Rock got about 6 inches of snow out of that event.
Yeah.
We forecasted northeast Arkansas to get around the same. Now, what happened was Jonesboro got a lot of ice. I remember my good friend Ryan Vaughn. He was so mad about it because he forecasted all the snow and it was ice.
Yes.
And shout out to Ryan Vaughn. It's hard enough to forecast for northeast Arkansas, let alone the whole state. And I remember he was so mad about it because they had a very shallow warm layer, just enough to where it wrapped around the low just enough.
I was just going to say, I think it was like, 1 degree difference?
It was a 1 degree difference.
Yeah. Between him getting all snow and the
now,
ice.
So with that, I'm going to say no ice for now.
Yeah.
However, if this low is just an inkling stronger than what we are seeing, I can't rule out eastern and southern Arkansas seeing a little bit of ice before snow.
Yeah.
I can't rule it out. I say no, but it's Arkansas and anything can happen.
Matter of fact, this okay. So now what the NAM's wanting to do, by the way, the Twelsey really came in with the snow accumulations across north central Arkansas. So you can see where the NAM's going with this. But the problem is what I'm starting to see is ice starting to pop up. So we'll have to watch it close. I don't think you're going to have a big ice situation here in Arkansas because your temperatures are too marginal at the surface. You need temperatures kind of being at 20s at the surface, and you need that shallow, warm air aloft. And the problem I have with ice with this event is your upper level low is so strong, it's sending all that freezing air down through all the layers of the atmosphere. You have no shallow, warm air coming in at all. So that's why I'm saying you may just completely go over from rain to straight snow. You may not. You may just completely skip ice entirely. I can't rule out an onset of sleet or a little bit of freezing rain, but it won't matter. It's going to go straight to snow at this point here. So,
Sarah and Mark, kind of yes. So what you're seeing in Missouri is the result of the first low.
Yes.
This first low is coming down. It's going to provide snow. Then your surface low is going to develop, and you notice how it shifts east.
Yep.
As it shifts east, that's that surface low that develops. The upper low is going to come down and then merge with the surface low, and they're both going to move through. So basically, what's happening is you're starting in Missouri, but that low's come down. The reason why it snows in Missouri is because the low is tracking through West Kansas, West Oklahoma, and then south.
Yep.
So you want the low to stay west. As long as it stays west, we're going to see snow. If it goes east, then you start taking out snow. Right now, it's staying west. Guys, it continues to go west. It continues to go in. Now this is just for fun. This is just for fun.
Boy, the damn. Boy, the damn. That's crazy. It ripped bonkers here in Central Arkansas. Oh, man. Go ahead.
Now, this is definitely what we're talking about, banding.
Yep.
Now, the thing is, we're getting closer to this event. We're going to see what guys does. Again, don't buy.
Yeah.
Do not buy accumulation.
Yeah, please do not buy
verbatim.
Right.
However, short-range guidance picks up on colder air sooner.
Yep.
Picks up on northeast winds sooner. We're going to have to watch this closely. It's not going to happen, but I also can't rule it out.
I'm starting to get concerned, because here's your problem I'm seeing with this. I'm going to attempt to do a comparison between the two real quick there. So you're going to see the comparison. One on the left side of your screen is the current update, and this one was this morning. Okay? So you see first of all, you see the southern trend with this. Okay? So this was this morning's run, and this is the afternoon, the 12Z. So one thing to note with the 12Z, we do have partial samplings with the system. It finally came on shore. It came through Washington State early this morning here. So we do have samples in with the system. It's there. So I don't buy these amounts, but like Derek said before, that Little Rock to Memphis corridor along I-40, we'll have to watch closer. Something about I-40 is just sticking with us right now because of the fact that that's where that banding could set up at this point. But you can see what the difference is with models right now.
This is what we're talking about right here.
Yeah.
So as your low starts pivoting, you're going to have what we call a deformation zone setting up.
Yep.
That deformation banding is where your heaviest snow is going to fall. In that banding, you could have 6 to 10 inches of snow or more, and then elsewhere the totals drop drastically. With that being said, the NAM is picking up on it. The Euro and Away picked up on it. The CMC is kind of picked up on it. GFS is out in left field, but we're not going to talk about that one. But GFS,
I can pull up GFS real quick. So there's GFS compared with the NAM. I mean, it's
kind of picking up on the band.
It's not bad. I mean, the thing about the GFS is I know everyone's kind of like throwing it away, but it's not bad. It's a start here in Central Arkansas and Northern Arkansas at this point. Right now, all guys is wanting to throw at least a foot of snow for somebody in Arkansas. It's wanting to do that for some odd reason. Just depend where.
Remember, this is on a 10-to-1 ratio.
Yep.
So we're going to be talking about ratios 8-to-1, 6-to-1, 7-to-1. So we're going to be cutting these about, I would say, about 2 inches less.
Yep.
But, again.
And then there's the Euro.
So,
there's the Euro on this. Now, I buy a Euro a little more than these higher totals right now. We'll have to wait and see.
Now, the Euro, this is the thing. We have seen a southern shift.
Definitely.
Now the question is, how far south does this go? For you snow lovers in Central and South Arkansas, you want to see this shift.
Yep.
For you snow lovers in North Arkansas, you don't want to see this shift.
Yeah.
Now I don't buy the snow domes in Northeast Arkansas. I think the Euro's picking up greatly on the valleys. I think it's picking up those northeast winds coming in sooner over the mountains. And then, of course, in the Delta.
Yep, it has the banding in Eastern Arkansas.
With that being said, Crawley's Ridge area in Northeast Arkansas, I think you'll have, that will help with upslope effect, and that will help to keep those snow totals there. The River Valley, may be the losers in this event, because your warm air is going to stick in those valleys longer than it is anywhere else besides the south. So with that being said, I can see this where it's going to be kind of where we could be talking about higher totals in the central, northeast, and north, lower in the river valley and south. Now, again,
I'm going to the RGM.
Could this change completely tomorrow? Absolutely. I don't think it's going to change much. We've had so much consistency. In terms of the National Weather Service issuing winter storm watches, they typically go out 48 hours before the event. 48 hours before the event would technically be this afternoon, late this afternoon, or tonight.
Yeah.
As of right now, we don't have any.
Right now, I think it's going to be tomorrow before you get any kind of winter storm watches here, because the problem is you have right now, yes, we have sampling, yes, system came on, sure, but it's going to take time for all that data to come in because it's such a powerful system. And on top of that, to get a winter storm watch, you need a certain area to be in target. Right now, the certain area, it's all over the place. So you're not going to see, you don't be shocked if you don't see a winter storm watch go out until this time tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon. You'll be shocked on how late the winter storm watches go out because of the fact that there's not solid. You have to have solid agreement with this. Could they go ahead and put it for Northern Arkansas to be on the safe side? Of course.
I think the confidence is there.
That confidence is there. Yeah, I think confidence is there for at least a potential winter storm watch up there.
Right now,
Central and South still a little uncertain at this point.
This is right now. I think your northern 3 rows of counties will see a winter storm watch to start. Ozarks, northeast Arkansas, down into the east central delta. The question is going to be the Little Rock Metro to Mena. That's going to be your question mark. You may not see a winter storm watch here till closer to the event, and we get a better idea. Again, criteria is 2 to 4 inches of snow, up to a half an inch of sleet, or quarter inch or more of ice. So, with that, it's a given in North Arkansas. We're probably going to see at least 2 to 4 inches of snow. Northeast Arkansas, most likely 2 to 4 inches of snow, at least. East Central, pretty much a given. Central, West, South, Southeast. That's where your question is going to be. I will not be. Also, how does it affect travel? Winter storm watches are mainly for travel. So,
that too.
This is the weekend. It's a holiday weekend. Martin Luther King Day is Monday. You're not going to have many people traveling this weekend, so your travel might be a little bit less. But for now, I fully expect to see at least winter storm watches across northern Arkansas and northeast Arkansas down into central Arkansas, with winter weather advisories further south.
Yep. And I'm looking what's called the WSI at the moment here. I'm gonna look at this real fast and see what it does for day 3 here. So
if you have any more
give me what's up?
If you have any more questions, go on and do it, because we're about to hop off here and get ready for the forecast and all that stuff.
So it still has the same area from earlier. Has the yellow up here in northeastern Arkansas, etc. If you want to highlight these areas, so just kind of keep that in mind. It's going to change in variety over the next couple of days here, but you can definitely see what the trend is going to be here. So I'm trying to figure out why I'm looking at this in a different area here, but let me see here, precipitations. Okay, so CPC still the same. Well below normal. There it is right there, by the way, 8 to 14 day. There's our next shot of colder air coming down as we get towards next weekend, but we'll talk about that more later on here. So if you have any more questions,
let's go back to our totals. Let's go back to our forecast map that we have with the totals. So Sarah can have a little bit of foreplay with the winter weather totals there. But so with this, again, we want to stress this out.
I'm bringing that up. There we go. You're good.
Now let's go back to the accumulation map.
Okay.
Let's go back to the accumulation map. This is what everybody wants to see. So again, these totals are based upon what we know right now. Again, higher elevations, northeast Arkansas, northeast winds. Again, I don't expect anything less than 2 inches of snow for much of the I-40 corridor points north. As you go, there's going to be a sharp cutoff as you go south. And I would not be surprised if we had to make an even sharper cutoff as we get closer to the event. If anything, I expect the light pink areas to go up. I expect the dark blue areas to be kind of increased a little bit. As you go south, I expect those to be more crunched down as we get a little bit closer.
Yep, definitely. So that's something that I'm going to watch closely. So before we're going to tweak, this map's going to tweak a lot. So I know everybody, like I said before, if you're just now tuning in, I know you're kind of getting in late. Do not focus on accumulations here. I know everyone, when they see these maps, and just keep this in mind when you see these maps, okay? Take more than just a second to look at these maps. That's why at the very top we say please read before sharing, because of the fact that there's a lot of valuable information on these maps, guys. I know everyone sees the accumulation map and they just share it and they don't see everything. You have to read these graphics, guys. It's a lot of information that can potentially either help answer your question or save you a lot of time of wondering what's going to be happening, because everything you need to know isn't in the description or it's on the graphic. So this is a first look snow accumulations map, okay? A first look. That means that this is very, very, very subject to change. Things are liable to change over the next 12 to 24 hours here. And you saw with computer model guidance, it's all over the place right now. I mean, some areas, southern Arkansas, for example, okay? So I got a trace of half an inch down there in southern Arkansas. You go with Euro has, what, 2 inches. So that means the 1 to 2 inch line needs to come south. So guidance right now is still all over the place with accumulations. This is just because of the fact of, one, a lot of people were asking for it. I mean, there was a lot of demand for the accumulation map. And then two, we felt comfortable enough for putting it out. I know a lot of people are going to be probably demanding graphics, but I'm going to tell you this straight up. You're not going to get a graphic from us unless all of us feel confident on that particular one and it goes out. Yep. So if you're trying to demand stuff, it's not going to happen. It has to be a whole team effort before we put anything out for you guys, because of the fact that there's so much uncertainty with these situations here. So
with that being said, I'm not seeing much in the way of question anymore. So with that being said, we thank you for tuning us and joining us with this live. Again, I will be out of office tomorrow, having a minor thing done at the hospital tomorrow. Nothing serious. So Cameron will be in full charge and be your chief tomorrow. I'll be back on Saturday as the event nears, and we'll be going over all the information as we go along. But we will have a forecast for you this evening. And if you have any travel plans that go from Memphis to Tunica, North Mississippi, East Arkansas, I would advise reconsidering. Right. But of course, we'll have more on that as we get closer, right here on your source for all things Arkansas weather.